All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we have episode 9 of season 3 of the Look In series. Something I do at the end of each team season where I go back, recap the team season, see what the future holds, and look in to what this team is doing. Today's episode is on the Portland Trailblazers. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. We have said a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer as the days go on. So all support around the channel, we are very much appreciated. That's my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So today we're talking about the Portland Trailblazers. They have probably a better season than a lot of us thought coming into the year. At least for me, I thought the team was going to be at one of the bottom tiers of the NBA because I was like, in a crazy tough Western Conference, somebody's going to have to lose a lot of games. And I thought it was going to be Utah and Portland losing a lot of games. And Portland started off that way, but then once they got around I want to say December-ish, January, about mid-January-ish, they started to play great basketball, Like they went on big winning streaks. They started like looking like a competent, competitive team. Even snuck in, like they held on until about like middle April from being eliminated. Like they actually had a really good season the second half of the year, and it really shows. And it's really like kind of turned the page. I feel like a little bit on what this Portland Trailblazers team can be in the future. I made a video even earlier when they were going on those big streaks and stuff about like how much I think the Blazers have a good future. And I think this year they're really showing it. The last few years, they've been in this middle of this rebuild. They've collected a lot of good young pieces, but it hasn't really turned into anything yet. We're still kind of wondering, what are the Blazers? What's the future going to look like? Where are we going here? And it started off like that early this year, but then once they hit that middle point of the season, once they closed out the season with the way they did, it just showed that there's something here to this Portland Trailblazer team, and there's a lot of good things happening. Denny Avdia. Denny Avdia, I made the video on him a couple weeks ago that really blew up. Thank you guys a lot for that. But Denny looked like a superstar for the last couple months of the season, having big 30-point games, triple doubles, defensively hitting threes. But he was doing everything, and now he could be a future centerpiece of this team. I mean, he's still only 24 years old, and he looks like he could be a future centerpiece of this Blazer team. Shaedon Sharpe, even though he had a very kind of up and down year where he missed the first couple games, started, then come off the bench, and still trying to figure out what his role is. But Shaedon Sharpe has a high ceiling to him, potentially. He's still 21 years old. But Shaedon Sharpe shows a lot of scoring ability. He just needs to get more consistent and better on the defensive end. Obviously, you have a piece in Toumani Camara, who is a elite defender, and it looks like he's going to be a pretty solid two-way player. You have Donovan Clingan, your first round pick this year, that showed when he does get minutes, he's going to be probably a center of the future for this team on the defensive end, and offensively gets in his spots and does what he has to do there. And yeah, so you have a lot of good young pieces. Even you have Scoot Henderson, who obviously did not have a good rookie year. This year he showed a lot of steps in improvement. He still obviously needs to get a lot better, but he showed that he's improving a little bit over time. And you still obviously have to hold on to him. And yeah, I mean, you have that kind of to build around. They gave Chauncey Billups an extension, so he was on the last year's deal. It was looking like he wasn't gonna really be around anymore. But then after that big streak, they decided that Chauncey Billups is the guy for this team. I really like Chauncey Billups as a coach. I think he's done a pretty solid job over there in Portland. And now they have the coach set up for the future. So now they don't have to worry about that. And then you have so many other kind of veteran pieces where we don't really know where they kind of fit on this team, but you could get some value back from it, like Anthony Simons. Will Anthony Simons be traded in this offseason? That's a question they're gonna have to answer. He's obviously a good player, probably your best player on your team, but paying him a lot of money, him being 25, and a lot of other teams kind of looking at him. You also have a bunch of guards and Scoot and Shane already over there. Like, do they think Anthony Simons is a building block of this team's future? I'm not really sure. So they're going to have to think about him. Jeremy Grant, obviously, is a guy that's probably going to get dealt. He didn't have a great season. He missed a lot of the second half of the season, basically, and they were better without him. DeAndre Ayton only played in 40 games. He missed a bunch of the second half of the season as well. And then when you have Donovan Clingan, you know that Ayton's time is probably coming to an end soon. They have Robert Williams, who they couldn't trade the deadline, but he showed in his minutes that he is healthy. He plays pretty well, and he can be worth some value. So you have a lot of guys on this team that are kind of, I guess, older, quote unquote, that maybe aren't really a part of this team for the future that you can trade this offseason and hopefully get some more decent things back. And you also have a draft pick this year. And with your draft pick, Portland is one of the more interesting spots because I feel like at like every position they have something there at least. So I don't really know what the pick is for Portland depending on what they get. Right now it's a 10th overall pick. Um, do you go out and get another forward like a maybe right now they have projected Asa Newell out of Georgia? Do you put him even though you have Donovan Clean? Do you have two non-shooters out there? Do you go with a Colin Murray Boyles? Do you just go with a safe pick? Again, it depends on where they end up and all that stuff. Con Kneppel is obviously a safe pick. Do you go with another guard like Jace Richardson, another scoring guard? I don't really know if you do that when you have Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. Do you go with I don't know if you go with another point guard like Gaspar Jonas. I don't know if you do that or Trey Johnson again. Do you go with a Derek Queen and maybe try experiment him at the four and Derek Queen and Donovan Clingan as a like a front court? I don't really know where the Blazers go here. Do you just go with a safe like Liam McNeely type of pick? Um, do you go with Rasheer Fleming? Do you go like I don't really know where you go here if you're Portland with this draft pick because it feels like at every spot at the point you have Scoot Henderson, and right now you have Anthony Simons. So do you go with another point guard to try to maybe combat with Scoot Henderson, more of a guy that can facilitate more like maybe a Yegor Demon, a big point guard that's going to facilitate? Maybe you think about him. At the two, you have Shane Sharp. That hope is your guy for the future. Or do you go with a Jace Richardson, another guard off the bench, just in case Shane Sharp becomes a six man and you have a starting guard in there? Or do you go with another scorer like a Jeremiah Fears or a Trey Johnson? At the three, you have Denny, Tumani Kamara as kind of like your wings. You have Jabari Walker coming off the bench, who could be a forward or a center. You still have Jeremy Grant on your team. So do you go with Colin Murray Boyles, Asa Newell? Do you go with a shooter like a Liam McNeely? Do you go with a Rasheer Fleming, maybe like a Will Riley, Nick Clifford, Carter Bryant type of thing? I don't know if you go with a you just drafted a center last year. Do you draft another center and Derek Queen, even though he's different from Donovan Clingan? Like, I don't really know where you go if you're Portland. I don't know if there's a correct pick here. Maybe you just get another forward that could come in, or maybe another guy that can score and shoot. I don't really know for Portland. That's an interesting one in terms of draft pick. But in terms of young talent, they have it, and they showed this year that they can win games. They became a really good defense. They started to really figure out the totem pole of who's who, in terms of who's our number one, who's our number two, all that stuff. Obviously, they're gonna need to figure it out more because can Denny replicate what he did that in last year to next season? Will Shaedon Sharpe take a jump? Who knows? Maybe Scoot Henderson finally found his rhythm and takes a big jump next year. Who knows who's on this team next year? So Portland still has a lot of the kind of decisions to make. They're not out of the kind of rut yet. They still have a decision to make on terms of who's going to be here in the future. Is Avery Simons, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, where are they going? Is Danny our number one? Is Shane our number one? Who are we going to draft this year? They still have a lot of things to work out. This is not anywhere close to a done project or a finished project yet. They're not super as far along maybe as we might pump the brakes on how far along they are, but I do like what this team is looking like for the future. I like the young talent they have. And again, they showed this year that they can compete and they can win games when they really lock in and they're finding a recipe. They are slowly finding a recipe to winning games, and that's a big thing for them. They're setting a culture a little bit over there. So right now, it's all about just kind of keeping that going and really kind of like what I said about Spurs a little bit, but not really a whole lot. Where I talk about the Spurs, I was talking about Wemby, and now it's really about finding the other pieces around. I think for Portland, it's more of we have pieces. We have Denny, we have Sharp, we have Scoot, we have Tumani, we have Donovan Clingan. We have pieces, but now it's about putting the pieces in the right order. That's really what putting the pieces together right to really progress this team moving forward. I think that's what the Portland Trail Blazers really need to do right now and figure out. But I like this Blazer future. I think they have one of the more underrated futures. You talk about the future of teams and their young cores and stuff, I think they have a pretty underrated one. It's not the craziest of names, and they haven't had a guy that's already been a all-star or looks like he's going to be a superstar in this league one day, maybe. But they have a lot of good young players. They're starting to win games a little bit more. They showed some winning tendencies last year, and now it's about putting the piece together and filling this team out and putting these guys in the right position to maybe even next year come out and be a lot more competitive than we think they're going to be. Next year, are we projecting Portland in the playoffs or play-in? I don't know. I don't think so right off the top of my head, but maybe they could be better than what we think they are, just like what they did this year. So I'm very interested to see how Portland really figures this out and how they build this team this offseason and who they're building around and what pieces they're adding in. But I think there's a bright future here in Portland. There definitely is. I believe there is a bright future in Portland. They just got to put the pieces together. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, and all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Once again, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So all the support around the channel, be very much appreciated. There's a playlist up here somewhere where, the other looking episodes, you can go back and check those out. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.